All right. It says we're live. I think we're live. Before I get too far into what I'm saying, this is the Film Threat Watch Party. What is a Film Threat Watch Party, you may ask? Let's find out.
Welcome to the Film Threat Watch Party.
Oh boy.
So, what is a watch party?
Hopefully get into the nitty-gritty of how this thing was made, which is really exciting.
You're telling a story, you're transporting people, with an experience.
It's a chance to watch your favorite independent films right alongside the cast and creators that made them.
Because you wanted my real-time reactions.
Instead of all of you getting together in one physical location, you can join in from the comfort of your own home.
So we gotta get the secrets are gonna come out on this Film Threat Watch Party.
Think of it like you were hosting a fun, casual screening of your film at a backyard party with the cast, filmmakers, and your best friends.
It was just like, I just had a smile on my face all the time.
Film Threat Watch Parties are a second screen experience. So play the film on your TV while you view the watch party on your tablet, iPad, phone, or computer.
All right, this is the movie we're making. Okay, I get it.
This looks.
Everybody's like, where'd you find this photographer?
Audience members, your fans and followers, can ask questions of the filmmakers and cast, share a line from their favorite scene, or just tell you how awesome you are.
You guys all did amazing jobs.
And if someone shows up late, no worries.
Everybody ready?
We're pressing play.
We'll help them sync up the film so they're all caught up with us.
3, 2, 1, click.
You guys got to get it. You got to get on this train. Time is ticking. It's going for 50% off right now.
So join us live on the Film Threat Watch Party. Comment and ask questions, and hear the cast and filmmakers' responses live.
You hold on to your seats, because buckle up.
Well, and thank you to Lauren Kling, who did that intro on my behalf. Once again, this is the Film Threat Watch Party. I'm Tristan Gregson. I'm not your normal host. You probably know that already. But I'm very excited to be here today. I don't want to bury too many leads, but I will say I watched this film that we're about to watch collectively today for the first time, and I was instantly transported back to 1998. I remember watching professional wrestling. I remember being introduced to the great Malenko. I can remember the first one of my friends that got a car. His Honda Prelude had a Hatchet Man sticker on the back, and that was us for quite a while. Flash forward to Halloween of 2000. I can remember I had friends that came as Violent J, and man, it was a time. I mean, I feel like again, we're going to cover a lot of this in the film here today, but I'm just I got to bring in Tom so we can start this conversation, because we're not going to get on this movie too quickly. Tom Putnam, thanks for joining me here this evening. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm Monday morning quarterbacking this thing. I don't know. I'm not going to make it great. I'm not going to make it look that way, but I heard of this film, but I didn't watch it until this morning. And watching it, so many things went through my head about just documentary filmmaking, acceptance in this country, what the United States is all about. So I couldn't be happier than to be here with you to ask all those questions.
Thank you. And I was texting with Violent J a little earlier today, so I'm not sure if he's going to make it. He's got a lot of health stuff happening, but if he doesn't make it, there's a big cardboard stand-up of him looking down on us. So
it was interesting just to watch footage and just try to think how long did this process take to make this whole thing? I mean, again, we might touch on this a little bit while watching it, but as a filmmaker and distributor myself, whenever you see something, it's like, wow, is it 10 years? Is it 5 years? Is it you shot a bunch of stuff back in 2012 and then sat on it? How did it come together?
So the film took 7 years to make, and Brenna Sanchez, who directed and produced the film with me, she was from Detroit. We made 3 other movies there. 2 other movies plus this one. We did a movie called Burn about the Detroit Fire Department, where we spent like 14 months riding around on fire trucks and chasing guys into burning buildings. And we were trying to figure out, wow, what are we going to follow that up with that's like at all as exciting? And Brenna worked for a number of music magazines in Detroit, so she was really familiar with ICP. I'm from the Pacific Northwest, so I just kind of knew as much as the average person. And she read an article about them, kind of talking about where they were at in their lives and the fact that they were at a crossroads. So she just cold called their office and said who we were. They'd seen Burn and liked it. and said, "Hey, we're thinking about maybe making a documentary about you guys." And they said, "Can you have a film crew here tomorrow? Because we're going to have a press conference and announce we're suing the ACLU." And that's our first scene in the movie. And it's been 7 years.
For this audience that may not know, Film Threat has a podcast where you actually talked to our own Chris Gore about that process, which is where I learned about it. And there's some great insight there just about, for being around so long, those guys, I'm sure, have had many filmmakers, interviewers, who knows, come along and say, yeah, we want to do something real. And then they disappear. And you guys were kind of different in that respect, that you actually put something together and made it real.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm trying to respond to your comments over in the sidebar, everybody. So, hey, Tristan, some people seem a little bit confused. Like, can you sort of explain?
As people come in here, we're going to start the film in probably about 5 or 10 minutes. The way this works is it's a second screen experience. So you are going to rent the film, buy the film through a VOD opportunity, because I know you guys haven't shipped out all the DVDs yet. And we're going to sync up time code, and we're going to start the title along with you guys. And then we'll have a conversation, or maybe stories will be told about the film. But the idea is we're a second screen. You're going to watch the film on your preferred device. Maybe we're just audio. Maybe we're on your second screen, but we are a companion piece for you guys to watch the film here this evening.
So it's kind of like a live commentary, and you can ask us questions.
And, I wanted to ask you, did you guys do a commentary track for the DVD release?
Oh, yeah, I did one.
Okay. So I'm going to need to dig a little bit deeper to get stuff that's not on there in this particular conversation.
Oh, man, I don't even remember what I said. So
well, that's also good. That's also good.
Hey, by the way, for the people asking about the DVDs, all the DVDs shipped. The problem was they took a little while to get because of all the supply chain issues. And I know the mail's a little slow, but I talked to the distributor, and as of like a couple days ago, they should all be mailed. I've been seeing people posting that they've been receiving them. So if you don't have yours, you should have it soon. Thanks for your patience.
The website says you guys are shipping beginning of January. So if you guys
those are for orders that come in from today on.
Okay.
Everything that ordered already, because they sold out of DVDs. So they're making more, and they're going to have them by January 3rd to ship. But anybody that already ordered, it should have been shipped as of like at the very latest, I think yesterday or the day before.
Awesome. Because I think that I can do this. I can say, it's on DVD. Is there a Blu-ray plan in the works, or is it going to stay on DVD?
There is not. If you want to watch it in HD, you can watch it digitally. I supervised the digital creation, and it looks and sounds awesome. It's very close to what a Blu-ray would.
You guys have a Dolby mix on Apple TV, which is rare for a doc. So
it's in 5.1 surround sound, especially the end concert, like over the titles. I want to live in that. It's totally dope.
Well, I don't want to front load everything. I work in a distribution.
You had a question.
No, I mean it's buried, and we'll get to it as we watch the film. I work in distribution space, and I work with a lot of nonfiction content creators. And in this day and age, there's so much noise, and it's hard to just get signal. It's hard to make something that can truly be a message that's not biased, that's not filled with an agenda. And I really feel like you guys did a great job of just being like, here's the story, like here's what's going on. This isn't pushing a certain policies. It's not pushing, a pro or anti agenda. It's just like, here's what's going on. And obviously this already has a built-in audience. So it's incredible to see it finally get out there.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, we went into the film with a totally open mind. I mean, to be totally honest, we knew about the band. We're really big fans and a ton of respect for what they've been able to do over, at the time it was 23 years, now it's 30 years. And but we also figured, I mean, a lot of the movie deals with the FBI's gang designation, and we just figured, it's the FBI. They don't just randomly gang list 1 million people in a fan base for the first time without good reason. So for the first couple of years, we just figured, all right, we're going to find out why they did it, and it's going to be a good reason. But then if you've seen the movie, you never get the FBI, as near as we could figure, has a 3-item checklist for what makes a gang, and ICP and the Juggalos only check 2 of those boxes, which are that they're a group of people with a common name and symbol, which, by the way, could be any fans of sports teams, the Boy Scouts, church group. It's just totally bananas. Oh, cool. So you just posted. So Film Threat just reposted a link to the webpage for the film. And on there, you'll see a lot of buttons toward the bottom where you can rent it at the venue of your choice. And if you're outside of the US, I know it's live on iTunes in a number of countries. Unfortunately, some are running behind. But if you're not in the US, iTunes is probably the best place to find it.
Plus,
so you want some trivia?
Dolby. Of course.
That not a lot of people know. So I'm going to be drinking during this. I hope that's okay.
Definitely.
I'm in LA right now, and I couldn't find any Faygo, which sucks.
I am also in LA.
The fact that we don't have it sucks. I love Faygo, but so I'm just having some whiskey out of my Film Threat Indie Film of the Year award in this handy glass.
Also covered extensively in your Film Threat podcast interview, which people watching this should go check out. I should really mention that it's a great award show that will be back in April of this year. We would imagine we'll see you there. Again, don't want to front load it too much.
I'm surprised they're letting me back after my behavior last year. But so we won Indie Film of the Year last year for this movie called The Dark Divide. It stars David Cross from Arrested Development, Deborah Messing from Will and Grace, David Koechner, the Avett Brothers, and Chris Novoselic from Nirvana did the music for it. And what most people don't know is in that movie, there's 5 ICP Easter eggs. So if anybody can find the 5 ICP references in The Dark Divide, shoot me an email and we'll send you like a surprise package of some cool stuff.
Okay.
Nobody's found all 5 yet. I thought they were going to be obvious.
Interesting. Well, as I was mentioning before I brought you on, my personal experience with ICP goes back to the late 90s, being a kid in high school at that time, being exposed to the music, obviously having some influence. I've never gone to the Gathering of the Juggalos personally. And then, we'd come in and out of like my own personal zeitgeist, but again, always there, kind of always prescient as like as a source of media and as a group that I never personally thought was any of the things we may see in this film. And, again, don't want to get ahead of it.
You talk to somebody who isn't like from Detroit or isn't familiar with ICP, they all have like a pretty strong opinion and it's generally not very positive. But then once people listen to the music or watch some of the videos or like go to a concert or the Gathering, their opinion totally changes. So we released the movie in October on 666 screens, which by the way is a total coincidence. That's like kind of unnerving, but it was really cool because people, like a lot of juggalos came, but a lot of people who weren't juggalos came just because they heard about like the First Amendment story, and they would walk out and just be like, I think I might be a juggalo. Like, I love the music. I'm into all the same things they're into. And that was really cool because I think for a lot of people, they've always heard about ICP, and this was kind of like their first time to actually see what it was about. And as any juggalo can tell you, it's a lot different than I think how the mainstream media portrays it.
I mean, talk about taking this story and making it even broader than this particular subject matter. I mean, yes, it's about acceptance. Yes, it's about, freedom of speech and expression in the United States. And I love the idea that bringing this to a broader audience could in some way, help a juggalo out there whose family doesn't understand and have an understanding of what this community is about. So if, each time that happens with one person at one showing or anything like this, that's the impact that's positive, because it's stripping away all the prejudices of, oh, I know what that is because I saw it on a news broadcast, just kind of spreading fear and who knows what. And we're like, oh, it's a community. I can understand that.
Like, I love horror movies, and you can describe almost any horror movie on paper and it sounds awful. Like, why would anybody want to watch that? That's terrible. But then you watch it and it can be fun, or it can like make you think about something, or it can be a way to explore issues that other movies are unable to. And I think the music's the same way. It's easy to describe ICP and the music in terms that are scary to people, but you go to a concert and you get it. I mean, it's a great time. The people are the nicest people I have ever met. Like, please and thank you. People asking if they could help us carry our equipment, knocking 2 liters of Faygo out of the way before they hit the camera. You know, juggalos talk about it being a family, and that's a thing that like mainstream media likes to make jokes about. But it really is. I saw so many times people showed up with like no money or no clothes or nothing to eat and no place to stay, and a bunch of strangers just stepped in within a couple of minutes and got them what they needed. Like, how is that a bad thing? If that's a gang, we need way more gangs.
Right. Well, there's a little bit we'll see it in the film itself, but you know, that stuff, it is not exciting headlines, right? It's not like, you know, shocking to the 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock news that a group of people got together and helped one another. So you know, like,
yeah,
you have to lead with, oh, maybe ties to criminal organizations. We need to put our eyes on them, not like group of like-minded people meet in one place and have a good time.
Well, and I also think we get into this a little bit in the movie, but I don't think it's a coincidence that the very first fan base ever to be designated a gang was this one, because anytime people who traditionally haven't had a lot of power and say in what happens to them get together and have power, whether that's in a union or a fan base or something political, that's scary to the people that have power, that want to take advantage of them. And I think a lot of that was at play also in the FBI's designation.
Again, this watching this thing today, it's all around a lot of very prescient current social issues. I mean, just talking about companies out there trying to unionize, you know, events that happen at Amazon warehouses when things happen, and how workers are treated. And in this particular movie we're going to watch, there are people that are designated as low income and living just above poverty, talking about coming together in community and how powerful it is and what they can do for each other. And then, yes, how the man or the bigger organization kind of labels them and you know, has impact over them and kind of imparts their will. So, you know.
Well, it's like, yeah, I think there's, whether it's politics or music or social stuff, you know, there's these gatekeepers and they make all these rules in order to keep everybody else out and keep other people from being successful. And like, you know, ICP is like, quote unquote, the most hated band in the world, but they've been around 30 years. Like, I wish we were all that hated. Like they've built this thing that's massive. And I mean, I think you can count on, you know, a couple of hands how many bands have been able to not just be successful for 30 years, but have had this kind of influence on their fan base and still where the members actually get along with each other. Oh, okay. Nobody Man says, I have one issue with the doc. All right, we're jumping right in. Right close to the beginning, when Juggalos explained how Juggalos, look, I'm just going to read it off the screen. Like Lieutenant Uhura.
You do
how Juggalos are family, and it keeps appearing next to gang members saying the same thing. Yeah, okay. So the reason that we did that, maybe I fucked it up and it didn't come across, was the idea that Juggalos are saying a thing that's really positive, but for somebody at the FBI who's using criteria for what makes a gang, it's basically about how on the surface what a Juggalo is saying sounds exactly like what a gang member is saying. But in reality, like, it's totally different and a positive thing. So we wanted to get across the idea that people in the FBI were looking at just things on paper and making decisions that were not right. We weren't trying to say Juggalos were a gang. We were trying to point out that just because they say a thing, when a gang says the thing, it's crazy to equate the two.
We are getting into specific topics of the title. It is a little already past quarter past, which is usually when we start these things. So,
right.
Tom, you and I, we are going to sync up. We are going to lead the pack here. I have my Apple TV app open. I am at 000 on my timer. So we will count down. Once you're ready and I'm ready, everyone who's watching with us currently, we're going to start the film. So bring it up on one of your device of choice. I'll give you a minute to get it ready to go. Then we'll sync it up and start it. And then this live watch party / brand new commentary will take place. So you let me know when you're ready, Tom.
I'm ready.
You're ready. I'm okay. We didn't have enough time. Again, you guys did limited theatrical in October. You went to VOD. It launched just a week ago on the 10th. It went out on VOD, correct?
Correct. So it just came out. So it's on, if you go to icpmovie.com, you can see where it is. Those links go to the US. And if you're outside of the US, It is or will soon be on iTunes. And if you ordered a DVD, I swear to Christ, it's in the mail.
You know, for the low rental price, if I had mine coming in the mail, I would watch it with us now just to have the experience. I bought it like any good fan, so
thank you. We tried to keep
part of the
we
ranks.
tried to keep the price low, and normally when a movie just comes out, they only have it available for purchase, but we made sure it was available for rental too for like, what is it, $3 or $4?
Yes, I think $3.99 for HD. I bought it for 10, so
yeah,
same thing here in the States.
All right. Nobody's getting rich off of this. We just want people to see it.
Well, and we'll cover all that. All right, you've got it open. I've got it open. Let's count down from 5 and press play. Are you ready?
All right, let's do it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. And I can now see the Strike Back logo. And we're off and running.
Oh, man. I got to turn the volume off on mine, right?
Probably. I mean, you're in your own headphones, so it's only loud in your head.
Okay.
Actually, I can hear you a little bit on the audio on that
you
side.
It's
not the worst.
I muted it. I know the dialogue. I know the movie pretty well. We edited it for 6 years. Sam Hook, the other editor, and I been on this forever. So when you watch it, it's just like there's so much footage in it. I'm pretty sure we're the only movie to have clips from E.T. and the Driller Killer. So
I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself. I enjoyed that part when you talked about, and we'll get there. We'll get to talking about feeling outcast, feeling like, you're starting from nothing, and the clips you guys chose there. But jumping right into it, you do kind of start with this tease, and you said this was kind of
the very first scene. The very first thing
you shot.
Yeah, it was their press conference.
And this was back in 2011, 2012. When was this?
I think it was 2014.
Okay, 2014.
2012 or 2014. 2014. 2014. So the gang designation had been going on a while, but this press conference is when the lawsuit started. And for us, the story begins, although as we get into the film, you'll see we're going to go way back in time and talk about the origins of Insane Clown Posse.
Obviously, and this is where this is where it's in many ways a film threat story. Since we've got a minute here as we got credits rolling, Chris Gore and Film Threat also started right side out of Detroit. We're also going to Kinko's, printing his own zines. There's a lot.
Do you think he was at a Kinko's when ICP was there?
I mean, we'd love to dream, right? I mean, Chris may even stop by later. He was very sad to miss this evening. He's on another live stream concurrently, which is one of the reasons that I'm here tonight. But again, the story of kind of, coming up from nothing, making it out of nothing is very much a Film Threat story as well as an ICP story.
Yeah. I mean, like Brenna and I, we make these movies ourselves. We work around distributors. We normally release them ourselves. And I loved hearing their story because that to me is just like, it's so inspiring as a creative person that just because the gatekeepers and the big boys tell you no, you can still make stuff and get it out there.
I mean, working in art and entertainment, and even though I work on the business side of it, you hear Jay talk about just like, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. Like I was driven to do this. And again, I'm getting 10 or 15 minutes ahead of the movie, but it's like, yes, one way or another, you were going to make this happen. It didn't matter that you started with literally nothing, and you're going to tell us that in the film.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh,
what'd you guys shoot this on? I want to know.
We shot on a couple of different cameras, Canon C300s, but then the concert and slow motion stuff is shot on what's called a red camera. And that opening concert, the one shot I couldn't put in was our director of photography, Matt Pappas, went crowd surfing with the camera, and everybody like.
Is that in the DVD? Did it make the DVD?
It did not make the DVD. The footage was way too shaky.
So you had to crank that up. Because I worked on the camera side of things too. I don't know what generation red you guys shot with, but you had to crank that up to pretty high speed to be able to get those great shots, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like everybody else that's made an ICP project, they like parachute in, they film for like a day or two, and then leave and just like throw some music over it. And more often than not, just make fun of the people they're filming. And we didn't want to do that. We wanted to get to know people and spend time with them and make something that was honest and real.
And if this is the first time you're watching it, which I hope it isn't, if you've already watched the movie, yes, it's very genuine in exactly what you're showing here. I love this concept of worst album, worst record. Like, you know, for starters, all press is good press, right?
Maybe. I mean, I once directed a Paris Hilton movie that has like 3% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I would say not all press is good press.
Interesting. Okay.
But
okay. I guess
but
having also distributed some music content, like those people would take any. I mean, people that aren't on the radar would take anything being on the radar. So it's always funny to me when it's like you made USA Today's worst list. It's like, well, I was in USA Today. Great.
yeah, but I mean, like, it's. I think ICP's done an amazing job, taking that and turning it into something. But at the end of the day, for me at least, as somebody who I guess now, like, I know a lot more about this world in the band than most people, but I think at the end of the day, they're doing like great work in creating something, and to have people constantly shit on it is a bummer. And they get into that a little bit in the movie too.
We do. I love 5 minutes into this, you've already turned the camera back around on kind of who this is almost really about, and that is the people, the fan base, the juggalos. So you're already getting into the, well, who are you guys?
Yeah,
I mean, montage.
Is there any band in the world that has a more amazing relationship with their fans? And I mean, without the Juggalos, there is no ICP. And you know, we definitely tried to just show a vision of the whole family.
In terms of those interviews, the talking to the Juggalos, I mean, we'll get to the specific ones. You kind of follow around a little bit more detail, but same number of span of years was this? Did you get all that stuff in a couple of years, or did you have to go back and get more of it? What was that kind of footage gathering process like?
Yeah, I mean, we were filming for 7 years, so if you watch closely, you'll see like people get older, people get younger, people's. I mean, like, my son was 3 when we started it, and then like he has a camera credit on the movie because he like flew with me to Utah and operated the second camera. There was a question. Somebody asked, did we encounter anyone international that the label is affected? The gang label, I assume.
Gotcha.
And the answer is no. This has really been driven by the FBI, and local law enforcement follows their annual gang threat assessment to decide what is and what isn't a gang. So I think if you're outside of the US, you're probably safe from the gang label, at least as far as I know. If anybody on here has or knows somebody who's been affected by the gang label outside of the US, let me know. I'd love to hear about it.
God, this news footage, pouring over this kind of stuff. I mean, how big was it? Just you? How many people? I mean, you said, I don't know if your editor is going to join us later, but putting together something like this, digging through this kind of stuff, how long did that take?
It took a long time, and a lot of that was Brenna. So the film, had 2 directors and producers. We had at one point 2 researchers looking up footage, and then it's just been like year after year of just trying to find like cool period stuff from Detroit, or finding out movies the guys were into. Like, there's a whole big sequence with the Warriors that I can't believe we got away with using. It's like 30 seconds long. And it was just about trying to like create something that not only tells a story, but gives you like a really good understanding of what that world is like and what their influences are like. So I know it has enough stuff in it that the post-production house that was helping us finish the film called me, and they're like, you have like twice as many edits as like the next highest number of edits we've had in a feature. And I was like, yeah, awesome.
It's funny,
unexpected at Violent J's mom's house.
Yeah, I was just going to say, usually, music clearances are a big deal with making movies like this. For you guys, probably not as big of a deal. Though you do have the Celine Dion there, and here is Jay's mom, Linda, who was how 1 day of interviews? Is that all it took to get all this great stuff?
Yeah. So we nobody had ever interviewed Linda before, who's awesome, and we not only interviewed her, but a lot of the photos you see in the film, nobody's seen before, because we like went through her closet with her through her old photo albums, which is where all these photos came from. And I just think they're awesome.
She definitely doesn't have the vibe of, she doesn't do an interview all the time because she's great. I mean, as you said, I mean, all this stuff is great in here. She could narrate the whole thing almost.
Yeah, I think that's the I think this is the one and only interview.
She just one day got it all.
It was pretty cool. She's awesome.
We do keep coming back to her as kind of a way to move the story forward. And here we are with all this great, mostly 80s movie footage. I don't know if the Warriors part is in here, but again, freaks and geek stuff.
Did you see they're playing D&D and they're drinking Faygo, because Freaks and Geeks takes place in Detroit.
Yeah, all this stuff is great. And just again, you're setting the scene so great with cutting between Jay talking about how it's just like, we literally had nothing. Like our bikes were just made of bike parts. And that's how we labeled ourselves and became a thing.
Yeah. And they're not guys that ever feel bad for themselves. I mean, even with the gang designation, things have to get pretty bad. I mean, you see it in the film before they're just like, they start to get distressed. Like they're fighters. And I think they take all of that energy and they put it into what they're doing. It's something creative, which I think is awesome. Like, I mean, we've all been at places where we're depressed or sad or scared. And that, if you take that and turn it into power, I mean, look at what they've been able to do.
Yeah, it's great. There's no like woe is us moment. Even when it's like you're being dragged down by all these law enforcement agencies, you might lose your venue for something. It's still like, whatever, we've survived worse. We're going to keep going out there. And I think that's one of the core messages of the group and the fan base. And what makes it so resilient is you can get nothing. And you're introducing Rudy here, who also has some great stories.
Oh my God. So, and Rudy, Rude Boy, he just put out a book, which I haven't read yet, but it's got to be bananas. He's amazing. He's like one of my favorite people I've ever interviewed. He's hilarious and just like amazing storyteller.
Did he have any great stuff that ended up hitting the cutting room floor? Because I would imagine he could probably go on for days.
Oh my God, a ton. So there's a whole big sequence that didn't quite make the final cut of the movie where these guys basically started fighting with other gangs. So there's a whole thing that happened with, we did this thing with an interview with Linda and Rob Bruce, who's sitting over there on the side in the chair, where she was like, oh yeah, it was just in good fun and you guys would fight with other gangs. He's like, no, the police got called. That's who broke out all the windows on your car. And Rudy talks about that too. Like, for a minute, these guys thought they were forming a real gang back in the
sounds like mid 80s
90s
or early 90s. Yeah.
Oh, Scotty D from Faygo Lovers is on, but he lost his voice. So he's just in the chat room. Hey, bud.
Keep shouting you out then, Scotty.
Without Scotty, this movie would not have gotten finished. Like he just helped us with so many things over the past few years.
It does raise the question, 7 years of putting this thing together, how done was it when COVID kind of shut a lot of things down? Were you guys 90% of the way there? 100% of the way there?
We shot so there's a final interview we shot with the guys. You'll see it throughout the film where they're in a mix studio. And that was shot during COVID. So no, I mean, the movie came out in October. I mean, we just finished it in like September. So mixed it remotely to do the color correction. Like we did it remotely. I sat in a studio in a little theater by myself while the color correction guy did it from home. Yeah, which is great to be able to put this out, but it was like not, ideal. Because we wanted to have some...
I feel like other than that one interview, you couldn't tell. I mean, there's not like, there's no footage people in masks. There's not a lot of like people are remote. So this is kind of in a time capsule of most of the events happened before then, but you never know. Again, if you guys were waiting for one more interview.
Yeah, I mean, like the whole mask thing, and I wear a mask. I don't want COVID, but like when you see like a documentary, like I just saw the new Tiger King series, and when the person has the mask on, I don't know, suddenly you're like, whoa, what's happening? This isn't fun anymore.
It just takes it to a different time and place. And part of it is because your story is so kind of rooted in the early to mid 2010s, at least where the the foundation of this whole like gang designation and initially fighting it, and we're going to go on this journey of how the courts handle it. But to then do the same thing, kind of push it to closer to today. Not that you shouldn't talk about where we're at, but it does. It would pull things completely out of whack. So it kind of lives in a non-COVID bubble, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, our last interview was at the end of 2020, so it definitely like follows everything right up until where we are now, particularly with the case. Rudy flips the bird like no one else can. There's the Warriors, which if you guys haven't seen the Warriors, it's amazing. Nice. Thanks, Buckethead Wendy. Okay. Oh, by the way, if you like go back and watch the movie again with the Warriors, on the back of their jackets, we digitally replaced where it says the Warriors. Instead, it says Inner City Posse, which was their original name. So I thought that was like kind of cool that we snuck that in. Nobody's noticed it. And it took a lot of work, but whatever.
That's true filmmaking. I love you here at Amoeba. This is my local Amoeba too. I'm not in the Bay Area anymore. So
it's closed. It's closed now.
Well, yes. I mean, if we want to talk real, this particular location has moved.
So we go with those guys. Amoeba gave us permission, and we just rolled in there with Insane Clown Posse in the full makeup, and people just lost their minds. You saw guys that like you would never think would be into ICP, like, tough guys or whatever, like hardcore rappers and stuff. And they were just like, oh my God, can I get a selfie with you? This is amazing. And there was so much stuff we couldn't include. There's a longer scene, I think, on the DVD with them looking at other music and like other artists they love and artists they make fun of.
I mean, you could have done a whole hour just in that store between them interacting with people, them walking around talking about their influences. I mean, it's so funny being in Los Angeles. You could have told me that, oh yeah, we just walked in, like we got permission, but we walked in and no one talked to us. That's LA. And at the same time, you could have told me, yeah, we had to get permission. We walked in and people mobbed us. Both scenarios are equally likely.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, even if the media makes fun of ICP, anytime we were out with them in public, people are like, holy shit, it's ICP. I got to take a photo. Like people, how can you not like them? They're the wicked clowns, man.
Yeah. I mean, most people on a one-to-one level, yes, you're not going to have that kind of mob mentality. It's just, I mean, I would be the same way. If I saw those guys in Amoeba, it'd be like, oh, what are you looking at? Oh, what are you interested in right now? Do you already have that? It would be a great time.
I thought this was pretty cool where they talk about their influences. And I think the average person would never know that they're huge Michael Jackson fans and Pearl Jam. NWA, I think, is like a little easier to draw the connection with. So that, for me, that was really fun to be able to have them talk about their influences at Amoeba, and also then see like directly, like to cut to how you see that work its way into their music.
No, that was beautiful filmmaking interplay to have all that kind of stuff. And here we are back to.
We got an American Coney Island, 2 shots in there. You can't make a movie in Detroit without some Coney Island, man. I miss it.
Are you from that area originally?
You don't know what that is.
I'm a Canadian who lives in LA, man.
They're chili dogs.
I mean,
it's like a place you go.
I'm not a light guy. I've eaten a Coney hot dog. I just didn't know. I always thought that was a New York thing. How is that a Detroit thing?
Oh my God, they're everywhere. It's also a great place to get breakfast.
Okay.
Now you know, next time you're in Detroit.
I do. Never stepped out of the airport, but I will one of these days.
Oh, look, Hatchet Rob. I don't understand. Coney Island is my happy or sad? Are you crying?
I think they're sideways laughing that it's a New York thing. Because I think that's in defense of assuming isn't Coney Island actually a place in New York?
Yeah, Coney Island, man. That's where they have the Nathan's hot dog eating contest.
So you can understand my confusion over it's such a Detroit thing, right?
I mean, it is. They're everywhere, and each one has a little different name. And so there's 2 Coney Islands downtown next to each other that are like arch enemies. It's great. It's like the place you go when you've been drinking, and it's like you don't go to Denny's there. You go get a Coney dog.
And I love this intercut interview of the work ethic, like coming up in Detroit, talking to other, local artists, the BSing back and forth about, oh yeah, we moved this many units and this kind of thing. And what do these guys do? They did what people that need to succeed and are driven by themselves do. They just went out and worked harder. And the
Yeah.
Kinko story also perfect. I absolutely love it.
Okay, so there's a clip in the Kinko's thing we're about to hit. Well, from Porky's, I originally had porn in there of just people having a montage of people having sex in the back rooms of offices, and the other producers were like, "You can't put actual porn in the movie, guy. Like, come on." So we put a shot from Porky's in instead. Can't win. I had to compromise my art.
Well, maybe you'll reach a wide enough audience that it will pan off in the long run. I don't know. I will not go down that rabbit hole, but
So a lot of people are starting to see it.
I really think so. Again, we didn't have a lot of opportunity to preamble ahead of this, but the fact you guys had a theatrical hitting over 600 theaters, massive right now, considering the COVID times we are living in. You guys have the physical media release. Again, that's a big Film Threat thing. I love my physical media. I'm not going to get rid of my physical media. I was one of those Blockbuster employee kids that still.
I worked at Blockbuster for 2 years.
06191. That was my store code, baby.
Nice. Where were you?
Santa Cruz, California.
Santa Cruz, Beaverton, Oregon.
Okay. Well, Oregon keeping it alive for home video rental, right? Yeah.
The last Blockbuster is still in Oregon. Yeah, I watched every movie in the place, man. I took three home every night because you can take 3 home for free.
Oh yeah, and again, it was like, why would I ever rent a movie again? For $4, I'm gonna rent it, but for like, I can get it.
Dude, what are you saying? No, everybody, don't listen to that.
Oh,
absolutely, spend $4 to rent a movie. What
I'm trying to get at is I'm gonna own it. That's why I still have a bunch of physical medias. I'm not gonna pay a third of the price to watch it once. For the rest of my life. Again, I've got the last Blockbuster documentary. I back those guys on Kickstarter, have my physical media, because it's the kind of stuff you can't find online anymore. That's even more important to be able to pass around with people. So, not to get off too much on that tangent, but that is a Film Threat staple.
Scrub in Japan. I will check it out. And I'm glad you got the movie to play. I'm glad you found it.
Yes, if you apparently in Japan, you can find it on Microsoft on Xbox.
It's very hard releasing a movie during the COVID pandemic when you're not a movie studio. So thanks for your patience, everybody, while we work to make sure that it gets out there where everybody who wants to see it can see it.
Especially with physical media. I mean, doing VOD is a little bit easier, but you guys are doing the whole thing, and it's great.
Yeah, we shot for 7 years. We had so many hours of material. We were bummed we couldn't put in the movie, so we put out this amazing dual layer DVD. I think it's got 6 hours of extras. It's pretty great, honestly.
And really talking about helping to explain to the I love the sidekick. Sorry, I don't want to get. I have a great idea about taking that physical media and using it to introduce non-fans, non-juggalos to understand the culture better and share it around. But I love their ride. They would take the stuff there.
Oh yeah, the Suzuki.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Yeah.
It was Detroit's the Motor City, right? You think like American cars, you think like, oh, they're going to be rolling up in something big and American.
ICP just they don't follow the rules. They don't do what everybody else is doing. They wouldn't be ICP if they.
They were probably the only guys in the early more in Detroit with a Suzuki Sidekick. So yes, definitely playing to
That's probably true. Yeah. More questions. Post questions, you guys. I'm here to answer your questions. Dare me to do something. Dare Tristan to do something.
I'm not the one drinking the whiskey.
Ask Tristan how he gets his hair to do that like amazing style that he's got. It's on point.
Usually it's a forming wax, but this was just on its own.
Nice. That's on its own.
Yeah. It's after years of doing it on purpose, it now actually plays by my rules.
Nice.
And I have to keep it as long as I can. Every year I pass from 30 to 40, I'm just going to wake up and it's just not going to be there anymore.
Yeah, it's all going gray.
As long as it's still there. That's my mantra.
Bruce Brothers Hobby Shop. You guys, what if the Bruce Brothers opened a hobby shop? What would that be like? I would watch an entire reality show based on Joe and Rob opening a hobby shop.
Now, says a guy with access to a camera and knows how to produce stuff. Let's say that the rumors about a farewell tour are true, and let's say
I don't think they're rumors, right? They posted about it, didn't they?
They did, but like any legendary group, you do a farewell tour half dozen times. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't know, and I saw Justin T posted a question. I'll answer that in just a second. Violent J has congenital heart failure, so I think, and if you've been to one of their shows, it's not like a lame ass show with a guy in front of a microphone. Like it's an action movie. So I think even if the farewell tour isn't the last tour, and I understand that they're still planning on doing Hollow Wicked every year, which is their Halloween concert in Detroit. I think I don't know that they're going to be able to do like national tours the way that they used to. Okay, Justin T says, how many people were interviewed at Legend Valley the year that we filmed? I think like we had an interview setup we did, which I don't know if you can tell. It's designed to look like one of those old like police interrogation, like you're in the spotlight interview setups. I think there we interviewed maybe 35 or 40 juggalos, and then just walking around, we probably talked to another 50, so maybe 100 total. Okay.
But I see the Bruce Brothers Hobby Shop as the logical extension of when you're not touring all the time. I think that's definitely a thing. That's
Scotty corrected me. 3-year farewell tour. Nice. So okay. If anybody's on here that has not gone to an ICP show, this is your chance. You got to go. It is the best concert you will ever go to. So JP Juggalo asks, Tom, what was your favorite moment during the filming? Oh, should I give it away for people who haven't seen it?
Yeah. I mean, do you want to wait until it actually happens? Unless we already passed it, because I don't think we have.
No, we didn't pass it. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys. It was when we were filming, and the ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, showed up, and we showed up with and they were going to like come into the gathering and just bust everybody. And we showed up with our cameras and the big boom pole with the microphone and with ICP's attorney Ferris Haddad, who's amazing. Hey, Ferris, if you're watching. And the ATF guys freaked out and literally ran away. And one of the guys flipped us the bird as he was driving away. And it's in the movie. And that's my favorite thing ever.
If you were to encapsulate how the fan base and the group is treated and what reality is, I think you caught it in that moment, right? Like an attempt to get busted. And then once you call them out on it and you've got cameras there, look who disappears, right?
And like, I know that the FBI does a lot of good stuff, obviously. But like, when we're talking about this case and what's happening here, they're basically just bullies. And how do you deal with a bully? You confront them. And like most bullies, the ATF just like took off. And I mean, the guy flipped us off on camera. Like, that's the best thing ever. And then Ferris is walking after me. He's like, did that guy just flick us off? And I'm like, yeah.
It was really poignant because it's one of your legal counsel. It's like one of your legit lawyers was like, did we just capture what we think we captured them doing to us?
He's the jugga lawyer. Like and that was the thing. It's like, we met so many just awesome people making this movie. Like Ferris and his wife are awesome. The rest of the legal team. We met so many juggalos and they were all great. Occasionally you would get a guy who was like, fuck your movie. And they would like throw a water bottle at Matt, our director of photography. And only Matt, people only threw water bottles and stuff at Matt for some reason because he's so tall, I guess. And he's like, why me? There's a bunch of people here. Why are people always going after me? But like, everybody was just great. Yeah, Ferris doesn't say flipped us off. He goes, they flicked us off. Did you say flicked? We say flipped where I live.
We passed by the Kmart reference by HB, but the only things that really dates this movie because that's not something that's really
Kmart's still around. There's still Kmart in LA.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Soon that will put a timestamp on what this title is. And we also went by all the 70s great, the punk scene, UK references, but you're bringing together the idea of like, this isn't a new concept. The idea of a group coming together just because they are their own counterculture is not new and not something that the FBI needs to be worried about. So I love that whole section.
I mean, here's the thing. ICP has 1 million fans, like 1 million
active community
fans.
Members, really. Let's be real.
You take 1 million of anybody, there's 300 million people in America. So that's 1 out of every 300 people likes ICP. You take 1 million of anybody, you're going to get some criminals or even some really bad people. And it's like, take 1 million, fuck, take a million Raiders fans. Jesus Christ. And
Very, very familiar. Yes.
and I used to live by the stadium where the Raiders played. Every time they played, the Raiders fans would light everything on fire. They lit the bushes in front of my apartment building on fire. Like, and I think it's crazy to say just because you're a fan of something and a handful, a dozen people out of a million people are criminals, even if they're inspired by the music. Like John Hinckley shot President Reagan and 2 other people because he was inspired by Taxi Driver. Does that mean if you like Taxi Driver, you're like a would-be presidential assassin and should go to prison? It's just crazy. Whoa, Nobody Man retracted his message. What do you think that was?
I don't know. I don't even know if we have mods here. I mean,
I didn't even know that was possible.
yeah, I also didn't know if that was a thing.
Oh, we have somebody visiting from Russia? Soviet Union? What do we call it now? Is it the Soviet Union?
You can call it whatever you want. I'm not going to get involved.
Thank you, Buckethead Wendy. I know, right? Like Freaks and Warriors. One of the good things about this movie was I had to buy the DVDs of all those movies so we could rip them. So I got like a totally awesome DVD collection out of this with all my favorite movies.
Business expense, man. That's how artists live, right?
Yes.
No, and it was funny watching it. Again, someone that went to film school, someone that is involved in distribution, I would be thinking like, again, Freaks would be something you're clearly going to reference and that would show up there. So I don't think there's anything, I feel like you missed out on any opportunity there was to be like, look at these connections. Look at how like this group is no different from things we already live in society with that are totally norms. Again, it's such a byproduct of the day and age, the information age or the disinformation age that we live in. Once we get to the section that talks about, like, oh, how did law enforcement come up with this stuff? They just Googled some things. And like, that was the Bible.
Just Google.
Yeah,
just
right?
Google.
Like,
yeah, I Googled it. So I put 1 million people on the gang list because I Googled the thing.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's a good idea at Federal Bureau of Investigation.
All right.
So yeah, speaking of all the references, the only thing I'm super bummed we couldn't put in the movie was Evil Dead 2, which is made in Michigan. So, which to me is like totally captures the spirit of ICP. Like it's gory and bloody and super fun. But yeah, no Evil Dead 2 clips in the movie.
What was the last thing you had to cut out of this? What was the last thing that you were like, I really want to keep it, but I can't?
That's a good question. A couple things. We originally had a different opening to the movie where we showed how the FBI over the last 15 years had targeted group after group. Like they started with immigration activists, then they started with journalists, then they moved on to people on the internet. Like we basically showed how the FBI has become increasingly brazen in terms of the groups they've been targeting and jailing. That was one of the last things we lost, and instead decided to start with the ACLU press conference, and that was due in part because the FBI is clearly the villain in this, but I think the FBI just represents our culture as a whole, and we wanted to make a movie that is really political, but wasn't like a liberal or conservative movie, so that felt like it was kind of pushing it too far in one direction. And then another sequence we cut was ICP at one point got signed by Hollywood Records, which is owned by Disney, and they were putting out an album. And then Disney, the day the album came out, ICP was doing an in-store, and then somebody at Hollywood Records actually listened to the album and was like, holy shit, we can't release this. And they pulled it out of the stores. They canceled the in-store. And there's this great footage we have of ICP. They had a guy in a Mickey Mouse costume and they just like beat the shit out of him. But we were like,
that was the Great Milenko too, wasn't that? Because that was their first studio album. That was the one that I was introduced to as a kid. Because that went platinum. I feel like that in conjunction with wrestling in the late 90s really kind of skyrocketed in terms of just public consciousness.
That's when like MTV, we had a great clip from MTV News with Kurt Loder. Remember Kurt Loder?
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah. I'm right in that age range. Yeah.
Started hearing about ICP in like a mainstream way. Wow, what is this band that's so crazy that Hollywood Records dropped them? But it didn't really fit in the movie, and also we were going to get sued by Disney if we put it in. So that we did not put.
There you go.
That's not even on the DVD.
That's Disney's power. It's like, you can't even get that one on the extras.
Okay, Scotty asks, without naming any names, were there any stories, interviews that were conducted, or stories told by juggalos that couldn't be included? Oh, that's a good question. Boy, there's so many in the movie. I think if we didn't include any stories, it was just because a lot of people would tell us similar stories about getting hassled by law enforcement. So we would have like 2 or 3 people tell us something similar in the film, so you understood like, wow, this is happening nationwide. But maybe there were like there would be other people who didn't tell us the story that we didn't include because they told a similar story.
This footage that we have right here from this gathering of the Juggalos. Do you know what year this was or how old it was? It looks like really old footage.
Yeah, we didn't shoot this. This we got from somebody. Scotty, do you remember when ICP announced that they were going to sue the FBI with Ferris? Was that 2014? He'll probably post an answer.
Would have been same year.
Yeah,
because I'd be like watching it. It was like, oh, how long was this situation kind of brewing before it actually got to that?
Oh, I thought it was something that we didn't include in the movie. So, Scotty says 2012.
Okay.
The thing we didn't include in the movie that I haven't even seen, even though we filmed it, was the wet t-shirt contest at the gathering. So we had 2 film crews. We had 2 directors. So I would be off shooting one thing, and Brenna, who directed and produced with me, would be off shooting something else. And she got stuck shooting the wet t-shirt contest at the gathering. And she came back, and she and Matt Pappas, the director of photography, were pissed. And they were just like, we were in the middle of a porno movie, and here's the card. No one can ever look at this footage. And it's like on a hard drive somewhere in my closet. And like, nobody's ever looked at it. It has a big label on it that's like, wet t-shirt contest, do not watch. So that's not in the gathering. Nobody's ever seen it.
I noticed it doesn't say doesn't say delete, or it doesn't say do not delete. It just says don't watch.
I mean, you never know.
I guess clearly
change.
Yeah. Well, when you guys go to do the follow up,
they were really, really, really not happy.
Did we might have talked over that poor woman that lost her job the day you guys were filming with
Natalie.
her.
Did we pass Natalie? Okay, so Natalie Eckroat, her original name was Natalie Portman. What? Natalie may be watching. We originally went to interview them in Ohio because not for what you see in the film. We went and interviewed them because Natalie, like anybody who's been to the gathering knows Natalie. She's been the ring girl for Juggalo Wrestling since like year 2 of the gathering. And we went to go interview Natalie and her husband, Donnie, who are just awesome people. They're both physical therapists. They're just like the greatest people you could ever meet. We went to interview them just as an example of like people that you would not expect to be juggalos. And move the slide a little bit. And we'd kept hearing these stories about juggalos who got fired because they're fans of ICP. And I'm messing this all up, man. And we went to work with Natalie just to follow her to work. We were in the far corner of her parking lot, and we watched from a distance as she walked into the building, and her boss was like, "Why was that camera crew here?" And she told them, "It's because we're fans of this band, and we're fans of Insane Clown Posse and Juggalos." And she got fired on the spot. It was crazy. So the one time we went to work with a Juggalo, they got fucking fired. It was bananas.
Even though it makes great television, as it were, I again, in no way could it imagine like that's the situation you guys were heading into. I couldn't imagine that was anyone's plan. It felt very much for the first minute of it, hey, we're going to see what a normal, these normal people, look at them have normal lives. Look at them go to work every day and then look and sees what happens to them. It was insane to watch, even though I knew it was coming. I'd been told about it already, but
it was crazy. So we'd film Natalie it's what you see in the movie, getting ready for work. She goes to work. We film her in the parking lot. And then I go to Kmart. See, Kmart does exist, to buy the table and the light for those interviews we did at the gathering, to just buy like a card table. And Natalie called me. She's like, "I got fired." We hired her an attorney. And it turns out Ohio's what's called a right to work state, where you can be fired for any reason whatsoever. And there's nothing you can do about it. So we got her an attorney, and we like helped her out, and like luckily she got a job with much nicer people, I hope. And like If anybody on here has met Natalie, they're the greatest people ever. Like, you can't think of a person less likely to get fired from her job. It's ridiculous.
I also enjoy this segment with the was a psychologist who got, was like, oh, it was like Gorillas in the Mists with the MS-13 gang.
Yeah, so he's the world expert on MS-13. It took us 2 years to get the interview with him. Tom, he's amazing. He's a professor at the University of Southern California, and he's one of the nation's foremost gang experts. And, we thought about, do we want like those kind of like experts in the movie? But I think he does a great job as an outsider laying out what makes a gang. Here's the criteria for what makes a gang: 3 or more individuals and a group identity. So you go to literally any concert, I guess now you can be considered a gang. You can go to a Justin Bieber concert and apparently you would be a gang member.
Right. It's, again, watching this earlier today, I'm thinking to myself, it's like, you try to tell me all the believers out there, no one's ever committed a crime, and you couldn't, make a connection between someone committing a crime and being a believer. Come on, this is insane.
Or look at Lil Wayne or Snoop Dogg, who both openly say they were gang members. That's why the ACLU ultimately got involved, because if this can happen to juggalos, it could happen to more and more people. And I think what it really does is it lets the government legislate taste. And I don't know about you, I don't want the government telling me what I can listen to and what I can watch. And I certainly don't want to think that it makes me a criminal.
Yeah, I wouldn't outwardly say I'm a big fan of the U.S. government to begin with, but they are listening and watching, so USA or whatever. But no, that's again, we so much is happening. We're moving by it so fast. Great to hear. I mean, the epilogue wanted to make sure Natalie was okay, because you watch that part of that movie and you're like, you want justice for her and her family.
Natalie's doing great. We're Facebook friends, so like, I think they're doing good. And at they're on the poster. If you go to I'm not trying to sell posters. I'm just letting you know. If you go to icpmovie.com and you take a look at the poster, pretty much everybody who gets interviewed in the film, an artist hand drew them into the poster, which is pretty cool.
Awesome.
Natalie and Donnie are in the poster, but then they got covered up by the title of the movie, actually. So I'm sorry, Natalie and Donnie, if you're watching. I'm sorry. That wasn't my fault. I saw Donnie posted on Facebook like, I'm not going to buy the poster. They covered us up. Okay. Scotty says Natalie and Donnie are doing great. Tom Putnam, how many cases did you read about actual court documents? About this much. So there's a Freedom of Information Act request, which is where the FBI had to supply their criteria for why they made juggalos a gang. We read through all of that, and then we've read through all of the court documents. So as we're following the case, it just keeps, we thought the case would get settled immediately. I think anybody who sees the movie sees what a ridiculous designation it is. But what ended up happening was the case kept moving up and up and up through each circuit court. I believe it's currently one circuit below the Supreme Court. It's not going to the Supreme Court, but that's how far it's gone. I mean, the case is still technically active. So, but for us, once the Juggalo March happened, we felt like that was a great way to end the film, because the case could go on another 20 years before it gets sorted out.
I also love this ABC News footage you guys have in here. Every time I see that interviewer, I kind of feel bad. I don't remember his name, but at the same time, he's the guy that
guy's such a dickhead.
Right, he's the one that Quentin Tarantino ripped a new one on.
Yeah, and they did that hatchet job on Michael Jackson.
Yeah, and then you've got our boys in there just once again just being like, you sound like an idiot. Like, what are you doing?
So somebody asked who did the art for the poster. It was not Tom Wood. I'll post his name on the Facebook page for the movie. I don't have it in front of me, but he's the guy that does, when you see those, like a president riding a Tyrannosaurus Rex with machine guns, he's the guy that does a lot of those. Yeah, he did an amazing job. The poster's incredible. And it's all hand drawn. So here we are. We went to the Salt Lake City Gang Conference. And nobody knows this. We never talked about this. We got access to the gang conference because we had talked to the FBI, and some FBI agents were basically told us off the record that they thought the gang designation was ridiculous. They weren't allowed to talk on the record, but instead they introduced us to the Salt Lake City gang unit, which is kind of like one level under the FBI.
Okay, so these aren't FBI. They're not agents. They're not affiliated directly. What is this thing? Like, it's almost a parody watching it initially.
So,
like, what is this?
So basically, it's officers that focus on gangs from all around the country come to this gang conference in Salt Lake City to learn about gangs. There are major people there. There's a guy you'll see. We just passed him, who is in the witness protection program. We did a whole interview with him in his garage that we couldn't fit into the movie, and they get together to basically talk about, like, to share information about what makes a gang and get educated about the latest gang trends. And these are guys who've arrested a ton of juggalos. Like, they believe juggalos are a gang. And they talk about, here's one of the crimes we focus on, a pretty horrific crime where 2 juggalos attacked another guy with a battle axe. And what's not in the movie is they attacked him because one of the juggalos got an STD from his girlfriend, and they thought that this was the guy that gave the STD to his girlfriend, and it actually wasn't. They almost cut the guy's entire head off. He lived, but it was important to us to not shy away from actual crimes committed by juggalos because we knew we would get criticized for that. And there's some pretty terrible crimes. But then we come back and we explain, we remind people that, like, what are you talking about? Like 10 or 12 crimes out of 1 million people? Oh, Scotty asks, when you first saw these examples of juggalos committing crimes, murders, did that sway your opinion on juggalos as a whole? Or had you already been to gathering shows to experience us for yourself? By the time we found out about that, we had been filming for a couple of years, and it made us understand why the FBI did this. But I mean, I think it's pretty clearly, if you watch the movie, which reflects our experience, that you can't vilify 1 million people because, I mean, a dozen of them commit some, like, horrific crimes. But I mean, that doesn't, juggalos, to be a gang, juggalos would have to exist in order to commit crimes, which is clearly not the case.
And we're also entering a great section here where this is something that, whether it's religious right or any kind of, like, particular group that wants to target, will go after, well, here are your lyrics. Here's what you're saying in your music that's really, kind of aggressive. And the way you kind of balance this with Jay's mom's interview, and even what the guys are saying in this ABC News interview, is just like, do you not understand what entertainment is? Do you not understand? Like, using that juxtaposition, obviously, I think does great for your
I love how they shut him down. It's amazing. Nobody Man, that's not all the facts. Can you post something else? Let me know what you mean by that, and then so I can answer that. And same thing for Brent. Yeah. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to have a moment where you start to see all these crimes, and then wonder, like, we wanted people to earn the opinion that they come out of the film with. So we didn't want things to be totally one-sided. So we did want to show these crimes, and we wanted to have people maybe have a moment of saying, oh, wow, is this a movie about to show us why they should be considered a gang? But then you come out of that and realize what we realized making the movie, which is that, oh, there's some terrible things that happen from people that call themselves juggalos, and in some cases, things clearly inspired by the music. But those are people who are just troubled. Like, they were going to probably commit these crimes regardless of what they listen to.
And you kind of dovetail that into the, again, the bumper stickers, which I remember the Hatchet Man being on my buddy's Prelude when we were in high school, and we never got pulled over for that specific thing. But it's just like, again, that probable cause, that kind of, like, it reminds me of the New York pat down laws, all those kind of things where it's like, well, now we have an excuse to just, again, rip your car out, everything out of your car, just because we saw any kind of indication that this may be related to you guys.
It's crazy. So you see a concert in the film. I don't know if we've seen it yet, but which was in Tucson, Arizona. Oh my! You would think that Al Qaeda was having a meeting. There were so many police officers outside frisking like high school kids and like girls who were just there with their friends. It's crazy.
We haven't gotten to that part yet, but I do. You do actually show both of those visuals in the same 10 seconds. You have a guy like being patted down outside, and you have like smiling young ladies entering the concert venue, showing their tickets and getting scanned and going in. Where it's just like, here's what's happening outside and the perception of outside, and here's the people that are going into the venue.
Okay, so Nobody Man posted he has firsthand knowledge of the battle axe incident. I agree completely. Like, it's just kids doing stupid shit. And to say that like, oh, they have a CD of a band in their car means that everybody who listened to that band is a criminal. It's bananas. Totally agree. Okay, what does Scotty say? Fun fact.
Martin Bashir, that's the guy's name. Sorry, not to cut you off. Go ahead.
Brought their own film crew to the Martin Bashir interview. So if the segment was a hatchet job against ICP, which it was, they could show the full interview to the world. Yeah, and if you see, some of the footage we use is from their camera crew, not from Martin Bashir's, because he cut out all the stuff where they didn't, he basically cut it to make them look like idiots.
Shocking.
Yes, I think we all agree here. We don't like Martin Bashir.
He's happy to come on the Film Threat podcast. We'll talk to him anytime, but
great.
Again, we'll be doing the editing, Martin. So just keep that in mind.
You can't be scary on a CD.
I love the Stephen King quote too. Same kind of thing I was thinking about watching this morning, where it was like, a lot of people make fun of the crazy stuff Stephen King has written over decades of writing. Again, the original version of It and the things that happen in that book. You aren't coming after people that are big Stephen King fans all the time.
No, but if you saw the certain politicians who will remain nameless just published a list of books that they're trying to get banned. And it's like, it's not just horror books. It's books like To Kill a Mockingbird. Like, I think that's an incredibly dangerous thing to do. And you notice the people who make those decisions, they never want anything they're into to be banned.
Okay.
More questions. Send us your questions, people.
And we already flew by the
talk about.
Well, I mean, it'll come back around. The problem is we keep jumping back and forth from like things that have already happened, things that haven't happened. I want to talk about the exciting stuff.
Violent J's list of books. Okay, so I filmed 2 stacks of books. That one, which has like Jim Brewer and the Bling Ring and stuff, but also in his bathroom, there's a big stack of books that are all autobiographies of wrestlers. But we didn't have room to put it in the movie. I thought that was pretty cool.
I think you guys could have done a whole 30 minutes just on the love of wrestling, the wrestling backstory, what got them in. Because again, from my exposure, that was what really brought them into my medium in the late 90s, was through wrestling. And then obviously finding the band after that. But their love and their dedication, you have a little bit of at the beginning in the work. I would assume you had a lot more you didn't get to use.
7 years of shooting. Oh my God, dude, anything you see in here, there's so much more.
That's why you got to buy the DVD, everybody. Rent it now to watch it, to have this experience with us, but you need the physical media. You need as much of the backstory that isn't Disney related stuff that they can share. And I love the at-home stuff here. I could do 2 hours just watching the at-home life of the Violent J family. I mean, we've watched so much bad reality television. How does this family unit not have their own reality show, right?
I know. And Violent J's wife, Sugar Slam, she's part of the family. And if you go to the gathering, she's doing events and does a lot of the infomercials and things. They're not together anymore, but I mean, I think she's still a big part of the community. Someone asked, my experience in Fago Armageddon is very sticky. You don't want that much Fago on your expensive cameras. We duct taped trash bags around all of our cameras to try to protect them. And
you didn't have to go all the way to so if you're running like a red Maestro or Dragon or whatever, you didn't have to get like a underwater housing for an event like that?
No, just a lot of trash bags and duct tape. And if you watch the wide shots of the concert, you can see the camera crew down in the pit, like just getting hosed down. I was shooting it. I shot the really wide angle. I was on top of this guy's RV called the Juggalo, and people were just fucking shooting bottle rockets at me through the whole concert. They hurt when they explode.
When you did concert coverage for an event like this, were you still just 2 cameras? Were you able to get more going on there?
We shot a lot. We shot their entire concert. I think we've shot 4 or 5 complete ICP concerts, and then the year we were at the Gathering, we shot all the shows. So it was like Cypress Hill, and I think Digital Underground was there.
But how many cameras do you actually have going in a concert event like that?
At the concert we shot at the Gathering, we had like 8 cameras.
Oof.
It was a lot.
Even that kind of even that one event of multicam editing is weeks in the bag. Not just 7 years of footage, just putting that kind of stuff together.
When you get to the end credits, which again is my favorite part of the movie, it's check it out. There's 1 million cameras shooting that thing.
Which is rare when a filmmaker is like, you know what's the best part of this movie? The last 3 minutes during the credits.
Oh, the end credits are the best. It's like 8 minutes, but yeah.
Again, you keep like all this stuff with Jay's mom is just gold. I love every time we can cut back to her and her just kind of be the through line to this movie, when the non, court part.
Mm-hmm. Oh, people were talking about Violent J having panic attacks. That was actually something we bonded over because I'm a person that has panic attacks, and I made a movie called Tom Hits His Head about panic attacks that got shortlisted for an Oscar. And it won all these awards and played like 200 film festivals. It's a super legendary short film. And so I sent it to Violent J, and we actually talked about that a lot because I get panic attacks too. Like, one of the things I really got to give Violent J and Shaggy props for is they were so open and so willing to be vulnerable and share who they were, and not just try to talk about the stuff that was cool, but talk about the stuff that was painful and hurt and was really real. And I think that, I hope, really comes across in the movie.
Definitely. And I get that. And I think that any group that's marginalized in that way, if you want to be respected and kind of take back the humanity that's been stripped of you, you have to do that. You can't be just a facsimile. You can't be a character. You have to be like, this is my reality. I live this every day. And both Shaggy and Jay do it in all the interviews, do a great job of being like, this is just us. And we're being honest about that. We're not playing up a character for something.
No, I mean, have you ever met guys who are this crazy combination of super honest and really hilarious
and over the top characters at the same time, right? Like, usually that's a persona of somebody. Like, you meet the actor and the actor is not the character. But to have to be kind of all those things simultaneously is an incredible thing to do in your art form, and
but
unique.
I think they're very even with the makeup on. Yeah, when they're on stage, they're singing songs and performing. But if you listen to the lyrics and the emotions in those songs, it's very real. And certainly, I mean, we filmed a bunch of meet and greets with them and things. They're just like, what you see is what you get.
Yeah, I think when we get to the Tucson show, you get a little of that. You get a cut back and forth between the actual meet and greet and Jay talking about how he's feeling about it, and you really get that kind of you're in his head of this is what it's actually like to go through all of this,
which I'd never thought about before. Right, like each one of these people, they want it to be like something special, and that's a lot when you're in a lawsuit with the FBI and people are coming up and telling you that they get kicked out of school or getting hassled by the police because they're fans of something you made.
Or you're just an overweight, sweaty guy that's worried about sweating too much in front of your fans when they want to meet you, right? Every level from top to bottom, it's all there. It's very authentic.
And I love this section because this is just like all the great stuff that Juggalos do and how they give back to the community. We had another section here that we couldn't fit into the film, where we had another section about Juggalo heroes, like guys. A firefighter that we're friends with in Detroit who got badly burned, saving kids from a burning building, or a juggalo who pulled people out of a bus crash, and a juggalo who got killed protecting a mother and her child from a guy with a knife. I was bummed we couldn't fit that into the movie, but that's something else that we'll get out to people.
And to your point about, not pushing one way or the other too much or trying to have too much of an agenda. I do like you show like, okay, juggalos committed crimes. We're not going to shy away from that. And we're not going to just give you 30 minutes of like, oh, they're their own like peace giving, Meals on Wheels community. It's all across the board. People could be involved and fans and connected at different levels. There's good and there's bad. Overall, it's good people. They just want to be accepted.
Yeah, Cannibal is the guy. Saw some people posted rest in peace. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Yeah, Cannibal is the juggalo who got killed protecting a wife and her daughter from just like a crazy person with a knife.
And here we are. We finally made it to Arizona, and so we got to ask, how'd the crew get hooked up with this story and these people?
I think the record label, Psychopathic Records, connected us with Sean, who's a great guy. I mean, I think you watch this and it's really clear. He's a great dad. And one of his kids was in a group home for, I think it was 6 years because Sean had ICP stuff in his house. That to me is just crazy. I believe the Juggalo Hero segment is part of the DVD. Sean, I knew the story. That's why we went and filmed him. But you sit down and you meet Sean and you meet his kids, and he's clearly such a good guy. And these are people who they aren't hurting anybody. They're obviously not in a gang. And again, I think it's just the government bullying people that are a little different than the norm.
I mean, I don't want to speak for the households that are out there that are watching this either live or after the fact, but like just being able to connect generationally with music, art, and culture between, a father or a parent and their children is huge. It's not everyone's going to be into the Beatles forever. We're not all going to bond over the Beatles, which I'm not a fan of anyway. You can crucify me for that later.
The Beatles. That'll be a different YouTube.
Yeah. But like just being able to do that is huge. Like the few things that I connected with my father on were both fans of Nine Inch Nails. He went to different concerts than I went to, but we still had that kind of connection. And having that ability to connect through something like music is so critical. Again, it makes it so much easier to be a dad when you have that kind of connection. And the fact that he was able to raise his kids and bring them into that culture, again, it drives you crazy. Like you then went to a court hearing and lost custody.
Yeah, it's nuts. And it wasn't custody because someone else was fighting for custody of his son. It was just about taking his son away. And we did a really long interview with Cody, and I hope it comes across in the film that the sadness he has about not being able to be part of a family for his most formative years. I mean, that's something that he'll carry with him forever because his dad had posters on his wall. Scotty asks if we've followed up or heard from them since the documentary was released. Yeah, I was actually messaging with Sean Wolf last week. So he hasn't seen the movie yet, but is excited to check it out. And then I follow Natalie and Donnie on Facebook. I mean, I'm actually Facebook friends with, I think, a lot of the people that are in the film. And, it's everybody just is going on with their lives. And in some cases they moved on. And in some cases they're still dealing with the trauma and the effects of the gang designation.
Did you guys have a formal theatrical premiere or any kind of like launch event or anything like that?
The closest thing we had to it was we premiered it at a film festival called Fantastic Fest in Austin, which is a big, like the big horror movie film festival. And they just like loved the movie. And so we showed it there and a bunch of juggalos came and a lot of horror movie fans came. It was pretty cool, but it's COVID, so it's hard to get a bunch of people into an enclosed space together.
Would you say that there would probably be a screening of this at the next gathering of the Juggalos, or what? I don't know. Maybe your distribution doesn't allow that. I don't know.
I mean, we can do whatever we want. It's that's
Okay,
up
good.
to Psychopathic. If you guys want to see it at the gathering, let them know. I'll bring it.
Will you be at the next one? I think is another good question.
Just totally depends on like COVID
Okay.
and,
All right.
schedule. It's so fun. Have you gone?
I have not gone. I didn't really know about it, and again, like my initial kind of interaction to it was the Workaholics episode, and I was like, oh, those people are just having a good time. But I wouldn't be against it, especially after watching this. Against people getting together for 4 days, telling work to fuck off. We've passed the however many mark it is. We can curse on this now, and just having a good time.
We're not. Was I not supposed to swear?
Oh, you totally can. No, for
Okay.
YouTube, you want to keep it to a minimum so that we don't get.
Have you seen the movie? The movie has 300 F-bombs in it. I counted.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a bad drinking game. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't. You don't want to drink every time somebody swears in this movie. You'll go to the hospital.
Someone should make the drinking game
Tristan.
rules, but don't put that on there.
Tristan, you got an invite out to the gathering.
And I haven't been out to a whole lot since COVID either. So if it's outdoors,
To Nobody Man. There probably will not be a re-release with more footage because we put all the footage we couldn't include in the movie on the DVD. So the DVD is basically like all the deleted scenes and an extra concert and a whole bunch of great stuff.
So as we keep mentioning, pick up that DVD.
Yeah. Before they sell out again, I guess.
Even putting even more urgency on it. I like it.
And if anybody wants to get in touch, we have a Facebook page, and I check that every day or two. And yeah, if you have questions or anything, just United States of Insanity on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and you can just send us a message, and I'll get back to you. I got nothing to do. I'm here all day.
Wow. Okay. You heard it here first. Tom is very available, everyone.
We have another movie coming out in April, but it's this is my life right now.
Well, is there much of a because again you completed it, but with COVID and the staggered release, and you guys did theatrical, and now you're just in VOD. Do you have much of a kind of a press tour left on this thing, or is it send it off into the world for the holidays and on to the next episode?
No, I think there's some more press. We've done quite a bit of press. We're doing a Reddit AMA. I don't know what the date is for that. And I think a few more interviews. Wait, which lady's so scary? The news anchor?
Yeah, there was that one. Like, it was some Arizona local newscast.
Yeah.
That woman looked crazy.
It's like, it's so weird, right? Everybody comments on that. I mean, sorry, I don't want to judge her, but it does look strange.
I thought maybe the footage was stretched or compressed or something. I couldn't. I was trying to get.
I don't think she really looks like that. Something happened with the footage, but like that's how it was on YouTube.
And now we've got 30 minutes left, so we're kind of in this third act now, where we've gone through some ups and downs of where things are at. We've lost the venue. I don't know if we've gotten to the initial ruling yet. I think that's still a couple minutes away, but we do go on a journey here.
So they finally get a gathering location. Oh, it's where the Hells Angels have their annual meeting. Oh, this is going to be fine. And then the locals freak the fuck out and they start arming themselves, and they're going to shoot juggalos if they show up because they think that they're going to like terrorize their town. And they lose their gathering location. And that's kind of one of the low points in the movie. Yeah, Kaiser, Missouri. Just a total disaster. And so now we're like, a lot of the film centers around, are they going to be able to put on the gathering? And by now, you know how important it is to the community. And so we're left wondering if there's going to be a gathering. Like, this is getting serious.
And you really, you exemplify it in the idea that's like, this isn't covered in corporate sponsorships. This isn't, like these guys haven't, this isn't, brought to you by Coca-Cola and Virgin Records and shit like that. Like, this is coming out of Psychopathic Records, which is effectively their own pockets to make this thing happen.
And they're not doing it to make money. They're doing it because like, oh, if we only lost $40,000, it cost us $40,000 to put on like this amazing, huge party for all of our fans and friends. That's amazing to me. Should I ask, what does VOI mean?
I don't know.
VOI? I know I should probably know that. Can someone tell me?
Yeah, and losing the merch line with Hot Topic. I mean, again,
they're blowing everything out for $3.99.
Yeah, and the first thing I obviously did was go back. I was like, why would I go to Hot Topic's website nowadays? But I went back there. Was like, is that still the case? Yeah, and you can't find their stuff there anymore.
It's gone. Yeah, I mean, if you're considered a gang, you're going to be pretty hard pressed to find people to carry your merchandise.
Yeah, this is like, talk about, the personal gut wrenching scene of this whole thing, and then flashing forward to the health issues that Jay's been going through. You really capture it in that moment of like, you're stressing out about the future.
It was one thing that was really cool was Violent J was in LA when the movie came out, and I picked like a random theater to go see it at in Los Angeles, and that was the theater that he showed up at to check out the movie. So I got to see him and like give him a big hug and got to like hang out while he saw the movie. That was pretty great. Legend Valley, yes. So where we filmed The Gathering is Legend Valley, which is pretty great. Like they've been super supportive. We spent a lot of time with law enforcement filming them. There's a little bit in the movie, and local law enforcement loves it when The Gathering is there. They had no arrests the year we were there. The thing they hate and are terrified of are the country music fans. They said when a country music concert comes, they have a ton of interviews or a ton of arrests there.
Yeah,
So
we're just crossing that part where you
fans should be a van. Should
be.
be
We're doing the meet and greet
gang.
Yeah, all this stuff.
Sean's family comes into the meet and greet, and they get to meet Violent J and Shaggy. Yeah, and it kind of illustrates like a lot of the encounters that Violent J has, where it should be like a joyful moment, but people are there and then they tell them about how they're having trouble with law enforcement because they're fans of the band. Oh, a friend texted me and said to tell you, Tristan, that you're doing an awesome job.
Well, I'll take it.
Good job.
Thank you.
Robin says, great job, Tristan.
Thank you. It's not too hard. Tom seems to be good at doing interviews. I don't need to keep pulling information out of you. You have plenty of stories to tell here as we go through this process.
You're making me not want to say anything, make you work harder. Come on, send us some more questions, people. There's 38 of you on this.
I mean, I'm the tech guy. That's why I'm always asking you, like, oh, what was the multicam shoot like? What did you guys shoot this on? How many years did it take to put the footage together? Because what the average consumer doesn't get is they don't really understand how much stuff you have to pour over to make 90 minutes. Like you have to go in there and pull out all these gems.
Hundreds of hours. Identify
those gems, lay them all out, get them to interplay. That's why it's like every time you cut back to Jay's mom, it's just like so great what she's saying about what's going on in the visual narrative that's happening, and bringing this story forward. And again, the dips and the valleys that we go on through this journey of, you start in court, you go away from court, you start with the history, you come back, the whole thing. And again, this attorney guy also great. I love this guy. I forget his name.
Michael Steinberg, who is from the ACLU. He's so great because he's such a sweet guy, and he used to listen to Aerosmith, but he doesn't listen to Aerosmith anymore. And the fact that he teams up with Insane Clown Posse to go after the FBI and the government, you couldn't ask for better casting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to, again, 20 minutes from now, he tells his little story about how he got to be included, and that was so hilarious.
So good. Yeah, I love it. And now we're back. Now we've caught up in real time to the interview. Brent asks, what kinds of topics would I like to answer? Just about this movie? I mean, I'll answer anything you want to send me. That's what I'm here for.
We're here for the United States of Insanity. We're here hopefully to talk about this movie that just came out. Send me some math
questions and I'll answer them. Yeah, what do you want to know about the movie? How it was made, or our thoughts, or things we learned, or anything. Anything's fair game. And if I can't answer, Tristan will answer.
What's it going to take for there to be some kind of follow-up movie or something to give us the update on this kind of stuff? Is it going to be sales? Do we need to move a certain number of units of this thing to get you guys to come back to this topic?
I mean, I feel like we covered it pretty well. In terms of ICP's history, I think honestly the case is so slow moving at this point that I would be surprised if enough happens to make another documentary. I think this is it. I mean, I love hanging out with juggalos and filming them, and I love the story, and I love being able to share that and hopefully give people something to think about the next time they're going to vote. So let us know. Nobody Man asks when the next court date is. There is not a court date set. It's probably going to be multiple years from now because they're at such a high level that to get the next court date will take quite some time.
I mean, it's not the official coda of the movie, but the way you kind of have to wrap it up, because there is no kind of nice bow to pin on it, is okay. Well, complaints have gone down, interactions have seemed to have gone close to zero. So we feel like we found a pretty good medium, and that's almost the kind of resolution I feel like we have to live with this title. If we're not going to look at the interpersonal stories, we have to say, like, look, we got to enough of a stalemate that it's not hostile, but it's not what we want.
Yeah. Brent Dowland asks, why wasn't there more advertising about this movie? That is a good question. Because I'm just a dude that drives a $1,600 car he got from a tow yard. And it's hard, you see like Marvel movies and all of this stuff, and we promoted it as much as we could. It's just hard. I mean, a lot of it's word of mouth. So, everybody on here, if you see the movie and you like it, please encourage your friends to see it. That's how people find out about the movie.
I think that, and that's critical towards the larger concept of acceptance, right? I mean, we touched on this a couple of times while we've been here, where, if someone that isn't involved in the community, someone that isn't a juggalo, shares this with someone else that isn't, I mean, talk about increasing the visibility, increasing the know-how, or the know of the story to help bring that community together and realize that this is a ridiculous persecution.
Yeah. Hang on. Somebody wants us to drop a link.
I think the back end has that saved.
Yeah, it's I mean, it really, we made this movie ourselves. We're promoting it ourselves. We have a distributor called Strike Back Studios who are awesome, but I mean, they're not like Universal or 20th Century Fox. So it's just, we're, relying on all of you to help spread the word. And also it's an uphill battle because there are places that don't want to show the movie either in theaters or online because of the gang designation. So it really is about helping people figure out where to see the movie and how to see the movie and how to share the movie.
You're at the stage now where you're just like every other podcaster out there. You're going to be just begging for 5-star reviews. Go to your Apple TV, give us a positive review, tell us you like the movie, because that's going to help get things into the algorithm,
thanks,
and get people to find us.
Please, iTunes, Rotten Tomatoes. If you like the movie, IMDb, please go and give it take 30 seconds and give it 5 stars. And a review.
That's how fragile independent film is. To talk bigger picture in independent film, it's so swayed by these things, and the algorithms can do so much damage or help them in so many ways, right?
So, and it really is nuts. If 10 of you go on iTunes and leave a great review, iTunes will literally move the movie and put it on a front page. So it really does make a huge difference.
And this is all part of that movement. I mean, we're here to talk about it. We're here to celebrate it today, and hopefully get you to engage with it, right? I mean, I'm a consumer.
Amber asks, Amber Villain
Great.
Films asks, Violent J came out to LA screening of the film. How did that go over with him and the fans? So he was so moved and just speechless. If you go to the Facebook page for the film, I posted a photo with him at the theater. He absolutely loved it. He did a social media post without his makeup on, which is unheard of, telling people how much he loved it and asking them to go see it, which to me, at the end of the day, he and Shaggy are the only two people whose opinions I cared about, because they gave us so much for the movie. And the fact that they loved the movie was awesome. And pretty much everybody. So I've been in a theater with people at Fantastic Fest and at the theater I went to when it played in LA, and then getting comments from people online, and people really seem to love it. Something that when we made the movie, we just assumed that traditional film reviewers were going to hate on the movie because the band and Juggalos have had so much bad press over the years, but the movie has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It hasn't had a single bad review. And they're not just like so-so reviews. The reviewers are like, oh, it's one of the best documentaries of the year. Oh, I love this. Oh, I want to go home and put on ICP and crank it on my stereo. And that to me has been one of the most surprising things, to see like big mainstream film reviewers really get behind the movie and love it. We haven't had a bad review.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
No, but major publications, I mean, just being willing to review it, because again, now you're associated with this thing. You're now in it, whether you want it or not, and you get all the good and all the bad at the same time. So I mean, you guys have an aggressive visual poster campaign. It's the exact same thing. It doesn't look like something mom and pop are going to sit down to watch on a Sunday evening.
No.
It's not a 60 minutes piece. This is like, come check out this real story.
And that's been a little bit of a challenge, getting people to review the movie, because sometimes people are like, an ICP movie, no, thank you. But then, you see, we've had some really big people review it, and that's been really cool, because the reviews are all really similar in that, wow, this had so much more than I thought it was going to have. It had so much more depth. I was surprised to find out how much I loved the band and loved the music and loved the Juggalos. Oh yeah, that's my dog Louie. He wants to be walked bad. So you see he's pacing back there. Thanks for asking. Sam Hook. Sam Hook and I edited the movie. Sam edited the movie for 6 years. And he was going to be here tonight, but he couldn't make it because he's home visiting his parents in, I think, Florida. And they're having dinner. Sorry. Did I take a liking to any particular ICP songs, albums? I mean, I like a lot of it. Great Malenko is a great album. Bang Pow Boom, which is the end credits, is to me is like the best party song ever made. Those are the biggies, and there's a lot of the music videos I like a lot, because I was really, as a filmmaker, I was surprised at how great they are and how emotional they are and how much they pack into like 3 or 4 minutes. You guys, what are some of your favorite ICP albums and songs? Post them in the chat. I'm curious. Yeah, perfect Faygo Armageddon song. I mean, who doesn't want to be a part of that? Scotty, you've probably been in Faygo Armageddon, right?
So as far as the narrative goes, we're back at the courtroom. This is where you guys didn't get to shoot inside. So how difficult was it to put this together?
Hard, right? We got our hands on the audio from it, and then we hired a sketch artist to go sit in the courtroom like a courtroom sketch artist, and then he did all the sketches, and then we animated him, which I thought turned out pretty cool.
I mean, you were cognizant enough ahead of time to have that. Like, you didn't need to go to a separate court drawer and be like, hey, can we buy those off you? You got your own. You put somebody in there. You got the audio. You definitely make it look like you guys were part of the legal process.
He was sitting in the courtroom doing it. And in fact, so few people use sketch artists anymore. We were the first people that had ever asked to, and the courthouse asked us to send them some, and we sent them to them, and they framed them, and they're in the lobby of the courthouse from the ICP hearing.
Well, I'm glad I asked.
Circuit Court of Appeals.
Not only is that some movie making magic in terms of putting the sequence together, but you also have some of your artwork up there.
Yeah, amazing. They were great. They were just, by law, they weren't allowed they couldn't let us have a camera in there.
No, but I don't think we lost any of the emotional power of this situation. You could definitely feel our guys, our defense attorneys in there, kind of being like, presenting the case and coming out with with what we were looking for out of it.
Yep. Oh, yep. I got a Bang Pow Boom fan. That's my big giant. Can you guys see that? My big giant cardboard stand-up up there is from Bang Pow Boom. Life size. I guess that means I'm a gang member and the FBI can raid my apartment.
They're listening. Careful.
Yeah, they probably are. This will be on YouTube, right? Permanently?
Yes. So one day when your door gets busted in, you'll know you can thank Film Threat for that one.
Thanks, Film Threat. Oh, fun fact. So I was an intern at Film Threat in the early 90s, and Chris Gore fired me. And now here you are promoting my movie. I'm drinking some terrible whiskey out of the award that you gave me last year.
Considering what I know of Chris and Film Thread in the early '90s, you must have done something pretty off the farm to get
No
sagged.
comment. That's not
Okay,
for public
okay.
consumption.
Draw your own conclusions, kids.
Nice. A fellow Tom says hello. Hello, Tom. I thought this was kind of fun. Like, we wanted to set up, like, go kind of over the top with the introduction when the gathering finally gets their new location at Legend Valley.
Did you shoot the drone footage? Or did you just buy it?
That some of it we shot, but that drone footage we bought. All this we did. I love this guy, the police officer who's like, we call it the courthouse, and he shows us the largest basket. I had no idea that was even there. What in the hell?
I laughed at that too. It's like, you want to know what kind of town we are? We're the largest basket town.
We interviewed a bunch of law enforcement that couldn't make it into the movie. And there's some great stuff with him where he was like, so that's a company called Longenberger Baskets that I guess are really expensive. And he's like, yeah, the women love the baskets. My wife loves them. That's why I'm working the gathering, is to make extra money to buy her more fucking baskets. It was so good. I think it might be on the DVD. World's biggest basket. Thornville, Ohio. Who knew?
Have something going
America
on,
is an amazing and a weird place. All right, Steve Trickle. He's a hero. He let the gathering come to Legend Valley, his concert venue, for many years.
You guys must have shot that drone footage. You guys must have shot with all the leading up to the
there was another crew there, and we licensed it from them.
Oh, okay. All right. See, some movie making magic. Some movie.
Yeah.
Licensing, putting all the pieces together magic, because again, drone photography, totally different beast from people on the ground with the cameras.
Yes, we didn't, we're low rent operation. We couldn't do drone.
Hey, you afforded the Reds. Come on. You got the high speed footage. You knew how to put it together. It's not amateur hour over here.
Thank you. Oh, I wish we could have had more of the strippers, the little people strippers.
Yes.
We had a lot of footage of that. A lot of that we can't use. And
was that also your unit that shot that stuff?
Yeah, but he's also not a juggalo. Like, he's a guy that like shows up at the gathering. So we also didn't want it. It was amazing. So we wanted to have a little bit of it to just share some of the crazy, but we didn't want to misrepresent him as being like a juggalo.
That intertwined with the community. For him, this is just another event in terms of events he goes to during the year.
Yeah. And like, I think you see from this sequence, like, is it R-rated? Yeah, I guess. Although there's a lot of kids there, and it's just fun. And even the staff, the bandit crew, like everything's going fine. Everything's smooth. Law enforcement's taking their picture with Violent J. Like, no one has any complaints. And then the ATF shows up soon. The ATF shows up soon. I mean, Jesus loves juggalos. There's a Christian group there that's just like passing out Faygo and meeting people, and they're surprised how nice everybody is. That's on the DVD. We spent a bunch of time with the Jesus Loves Juggalos people, and they went in with a lot of preconceptions and were totally surprised by how polite and great all the juggalos were. I think it ended up being, instead of them convincing the juggalos of something, I think the juggalos convinced the youth group that came to be excited.
And I think, in the same calendar year where we had like the Woodstock 99 documentary come out, I don't know if you saw that over on HBO Max.
A friend of mine made it.
There you go. So to look at the commercialization of concerts and live events like that, and then to juxtapose it with guys literally giving away water, working the grill, like stuff like that. It is such a different community, and one that is so embracing of that. Not even a fan base. I mean, again, they call it family. Nothing wrong. Oh, I don't want to talk over your favorite footage here.
Like,
you guys are
I don't know of any gang that gives free hot dogs and closeout to its members.
Right.
Yeah. Scrub care unit is awesome.
Not in exchange for being a drug mule or something along those lines.
So here's the ATF showing up. And basically what you're seeing is we were on the other side of the gathering, and on the walkie, just like you saw, Rob Bruce, Joe's brother, called and said, like, the ATF's here. Come down here. So we ran down, and we're just like rolling two cameras on this in real time. And which is why it's so messy, but I think it turned out pretty amazing. There he is, flipping us off. What a dick.
That authentic look. I mean,
here's the guy that flips us off. That guy may have too. You got to look closely because he's speeding away fast. There he goes. Oh, I watched it frame by frame and zoomed in. He absolutely flips us off.
And you got clean audio out of it too. Look at that on the fly.
Yeah. We actually, it's not in the movie. We all piled into a golf cart and chased after them, but they got away so fast we couldn't catch up to them. Flipped off Ferris, who's the nicest guy. That's my favorite.
Now, as
scene.
you set up, you know, when talking to the venue owner, you were like, look, you know, they can't come on without you letting them on, those kind of things. And the ATF might, you know, may or may not be connected to FBI. Was there any confirmation of FBI presence in the area, or was that just kind of hearsay?
No, but the ATF often works with the FBI, and the ATF had not shown up at this before. I mean, the ATF, that's serious. That's not like, and also the sheriffs, they had an office in the middle of the gathering. There was already a strong law enforcement presence there. So I think it was pretty clear that the ATF had been sent there. Local law enforcement was just as confused as we were about why they were there. So I thought this was kind of fun. Like, we wanted to set up not just the real history of the Lincoln Memorial, but the pop culture history. So there's clips from Logan's Run and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and Planet of the Apes.
You have the unfortunate Planet of the Apes in there as well at one point with the 2001 Marky Mark one. I think there's a shot.
Yeah, I know. We didn't. The other one didn't. They didn't have the Lincoln Memorial. It just lined up too well.
Right. No, it makes sense. It was just funny to see that shot again as a film geek, and then obviously the Forrest Gump footage was pretty key as well.
And a lot of this footage we got from other juggalos who were there. I just loved the feel of it, and people were just down in the middle of it. And you got it. You shoot something at the Lincoln Memorial, you got to have some Forrest Gump.
Yeah. No, I mean, this intercut sequence, you know, this montage is great, and it leads right into Jay's speech.
And, you know, one of the things that I thought was so cool that we got to watch over the 7 years making this was these guys went from being totally apolitical and like, oh, the gang designation's a joke, to they're giving this amazing speech in front of the Lincoln Memorial and talking about, like, I would fight for the rights for two gay people to get married. And they give us about as strong a political speech as I've ever heard. And then they march. So, you know, if there's a bright side to this story, I think it took these guys that have all of this energy and fight and influence and turned them into people who are willing to, like, speak up for the First Amendment. And I can't think of any better spokespeople, frankly, for the First Amendment. Yeah, Scotty, who's that guy in the green jersey on stage with the Fagel Lovers jersey? Scotty's
Don't want to share? Okay, I was like, didn't
yeah,
want to make assumptions.
We tried to show as many people who were at the march as possible. So if you were there and we captured you, awesome. And if we missed you, I'm sorry. We tried.
No, I don't think you ever cut back to the same angle or the same shot during this entire sequence. It's always, you know, different people, different places, different looks.
Yeah. And I mean, and this is the path that, like, all of these amazing Martin Luther King, you know, all of these amazing marches have taken that same path. And hopefully, in a serious way, you know, you have a good time watching the movie, but you realize that this story is important and is the latest chapter in that never-ending fight for people to have the rights they deserve as Americans.
And the button on this is so great when they're like, well, we have the spot for the whole day, right? Like, we could just have a concert, right? Like, what's stopping us?
And they're like, as long as you don't swear and throw Faygo, and then, like, the next thing you see is them swearing right there, swearing and throwing Faygo. Awesome. What are they going to do? Declare you a gang?
Right.
Yeah, on the right where all of these famous things have happened on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And I got to say, like, this concert will go down in history as one of these amazing events that happened on that spot. The other clown rally that day, were you talking about the Trump rally that happened that had way fewer attendees? Like, all the news left that to go cover the Juggalo March, which I think is awesome. This is one of the last interviews we did.
And I love, again, to put not to put a pin on it. It's just like, yeah, you really brought people together that were like, I might not be aware of your music, I might not be aware of your culture, but that's fucked up.
Oh my gosh, I've had so many emails or seen social media comments or had people come to screenings that were like, I knew about ICP, but I bet they discovered them because of this case, and like they thought it was wrong, and then they listened to the music and then discovered they liked the music, which I think is amazing. And now, so at this point in the movie, we realize that even though they haven't won their case, they've really kind of won in the court of public opinion. And in a way, maybe that's more important. So I think the movie reflects the reality, which is on the one hand, there's still a fight and it's still something that we all need to know about and get involved in and be proactive with. And on the other hand, there's hope and there's been some success, and this fight hasn't been in vain.
No, I mean, it's not an outright win. It's not an outright loss. It's definitely a gray area of, how do we go forward from here?
Yeah. And now we have kind of like a little bit of our victory lap and something that we wanted to remind people who these folks are and how they're just like probably somebody. I mean, 1 out of every 300 Americans is an ICP fan. So they probably live next door to you. They're probably standing next to you at the grocery store or going to school with your kids. And we wanted to end, we didn't want the movie to be a downer, despite how difficult the struggle has been. So we really wanted to end it on a fun, positive note where people go out of the film excited, but, in addition to wanting to make sure that all of our First Amendment rights are protected.
No, it was one of the things that really put it all together for me. Was it's, you have all these people of all these different walks of life tell you their regular day-to-day jobs, what they usually do, and also be like, look, we're just here to be our community and come together. So, and then we get
the concert. So fun. And I was stuck. Everybody else was down in the middle of it, having a blast and getting soaked. And I was stuck on top of the juggalo dodging bottle rockets.
Sounds like you had a terrible time.
Terrible. No, it was so fun, right? Like how great is this set? Yeah, it's I hope the gathering keeps happening. I hope the guys are able to keep playing shows, because to be in a concert with 5,000 people who are all super stoked about a thing, I mean, there's nothing else like it in the world. And it is crazy. And I love how we were able to be just right in the middle of it as it's happening.
No, it's part of you wants to open the movie on how great this thing is, but I understand here at the end.
Yeah, that's why we had a smaller concert at the beginning, because you gotta end big, right? And luckily, look, it's a good thing with the concert. The song went on for a really long time because there's so many people we licensed footage from or got footage donated from that the end credits go on forever. Just the music credits are like a couple of minutes long, I think.
Well, I did start looking at tour dates today as I was covering this stuff. As soon as it was like, Jay's health is a concern, and you see that in the movie, you're like, you want these guys to live forever, but what is reality? How long can you go on for? And I personally hope that there is a turnaround and that things can go on for a really long time, and the hobby shop doesn't open tomorrow, but just in case, yeah. For sure.
And yeah, I mean, hey, you said you're in LA?
I am in LA.
Next time they play Southern California, let's go.
Okay. Well, you know how to get a hold of me now.
Yeah.
I'll see you there, Tom. I'm sure I could get some great access.
Oh man, are you kidding? I'm just gonna wait in line and just be like everybody else. That's where the fun is.
Okay.
I'm excited to go see a show without having to lug a camera around and just enjoy it.
So you're that kind of filmmaker. You're not the kind of filmmaker that's like, I gotta have the camera with me. I don't know what I'm gonna miss.
Well, you drop something. Sorry, my son's leaving. Live. It's all live. Yeah, now look here, the music credits are starting. Those go on forever. I think we have like 35 ICP songs in the movie, 35, 40, plus all the other music that's in the movie.
So as we get to the very end here, and we're not going to end the broadcast right as the timer runs out, but 7 years plus of putting this thing together.
7 years, all this gray hair. There was no gray hair when I started.
Takeaways, regrets, things you wish you'd done, high moments. What do you want to say to everyone that came here to watch with us tonight?
I want to thank everybody, not just for coming to watch this and listen to me just talk nonsense for an hour and a half. But for everybody a lot of you have been supporting the movie and helping share the movie. Some of you we interviewed for the movie. And thanks for just doing what you do. And please, keep doing what you do. I think your world is really special. I've made a lot of movies over the years, and I've never seen anything like it. And thanks for letting me be a part of your world and discover the magic, and for being so welcoming to us and letting us make this movie. It was really an honor. And for those of you who posted and said thank you, you're welcome.
Is there anything you didn't capture on film in that 7 years you really wish you had got? Is there anything you missed out on? Not to go out on a if only.
If only.
Is there anything you didn't think you got, or is it all there?
No, I mean, we really wanted to interview the FBI. I wish we'd interviewed more law enforcement.
You should have done like all those docs where they put up the black screen with the white text being like, the filmmakers reached out to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They did not elect to comment at this time.
We emailed and sent letters back and forth to a number of juggalos who were in prison, but we just ran out of time and money because it's a really involved process to interview somebody who's in prison. I wish we'd had a chance to do that. I'm pretty happy with it. I better be after 7 years. Somebody asked how to get in touch with me. We have a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts for the movie. That's me. You can just send a direct message on there. That's the best way to do it.
Well, if it isn't obvious, I'm trying to get you to commit to a follow-up on this at some point. I know you're working on other projects, but
oh my God, I've still got this one coming out. I mean, I would love to.
Because I think as much as you covered here in 7 years and you left it on a positive message, this is still evolving and things are happening. And obviously the juggalos aren't going away, and this is going to continue to evolve. So, maybe it's 3, 5, 7 more years down the road, but I think, look out for the follow-up to this.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited to see what happens next in the world of ICP and for the juggalos, because I think it's so big and it means so much to so many people. There's no way it can, even if ICP decides they're never going to do another show, which I don't think is going to happen, it's not going away. So, I think it's going to be really cool to see what happens next. And hopefully I'll get to be a part of it. Hopefully nobody's mad at me.
No, I think you're going to get the call for years after this one to show up at screenings of this thing, to be, included in that community, because you're part of it, at a level that most aren't at this stage. And I think that sharing this story, even if nothing else gets made beyond what is here, is encapsulated for forever and for always. I mean, like any great fan base, like any great group of people brought together. I mean, Star Trek fans weren't persecuted at this level. They weren't never, as much as they kept something alive.
No fans have been punched like ICP's fans. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, you can't think of fandom. No Buffy convention has people getting frisked as they go into it, right? Like this is a resilient group of people that are going to keep this alive for long past you and I existing on this planet. So,
yay, nice.
We'll leave on that inspiration.
I like that's very wow. How am I supposed to follow that up? Everybody, thank you for coming. Please tell your friends, family, enemies about the movie. If you have a couple of minutes, it would be awesome if you could just post a 5-star review on iTunes and Rotten Tomatoes. It really does make a difference, and we're getting the movie out there ourselves. Thank you for what I got a Google gobble. That's the best ever. Thanks, Buckethead Wendy.
So you can get it on physical media, which I highly endorse. If you were to get it on physical media, where would you go to find it?
ICPmovie.com.
There we go.
That'll take you to any place you need to go.
Yeah, so if you go to that URL as well, you're going to find it for all the instant gratification people. You can find it on all the digital outlets there as well. Slowly making its way around the globe. We know it's available in the United States for sure, and some other countries as of now. Slowly making its way, mostly on Apple TV, internationally over time. So if you find this and it's not available in your country yet, definitely check back. Find it then, or find it at some point there when that happens. You can follow Film Threat. You should follow Film Threat if you found this. You found our YouTube page. Check us on Instagram and Twitter for the most part. Chris always talks about using the TikTok one of these days. We're all too old for it. It may never happen. Who knows? We don't know which one of those will be outlived.
TikTok scares me.
Right. Yeah, we're all, white guys over 35 are like, oh, I don't think I'm allowed there. We don't really know. Anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
We got to end with a big whoop whoop, double scoop of whoop for everybody. Thank you. You're amazing. Hopefully I'll see you at the next gathering, or if you come to the show in LA, I'll definitely be there. And thank you. Thanks for all the clown love.
That's it. We're out.
Okay. Good night, everybody. Have a great weekend.
A little circle says N-Brud.